So I did all that before I called my doctor.
Okay.
I didn't feel anything yet. I just had a bad feeling. So I called my doctor. I'm like, yeah, I've done the usual things and I'm not feeling the baby move. And I can't remember the last time I felt the baby move.
Hi everybody, welcome to Being Kambua. So happy to have you here. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for being a part of this family. If this is the first time that you're hearing of Being Kambua, I'm really just happy that you are here. You can go ahead and catch up on what we did on season 2, the conversations that we had. I promise you, you're going to find something that will lift you, that will heal you. But here is season 2, and I'm really so honored today because I get to meet amazing people through email, Instagram, Twitter, and all of these beautiful spaces that we've been given. But then I get to meet them in person, and they're even better when I meet them in person. So my guest today is Sharon Wangene. She told me another name, which I have forgotten. Hi, Sharon.
Hi.
What was the other name?
Wangene.
Wangene. I'm like, why is my head saying Wandege? It's not Wandege. Wangene. Yeah. So happy to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
You look so beautiful.
You too.
I should tell you guys, Sharon brought me flowers. Please bring my flowers. I have to show because, I mean, such a beautiful bouquet of flowers. Look it. What a way to start the year. I'm so excited. If you know me, you know I love flowers. There's also chocolates in here. I'll decide who's going to get the chocolates, but I'm so happy. Thank you, Sharon.
You're welcome.
Thank you, my dear. So Sharon, you and I connected on email. Basically, you reached out you were giving, I don't want to say feedback, but just a reflection on some of the content that we've been putting out in season 1 and what resonated with you. And I was like, I think I'd love to have a conversation with her. And here you are. So thank you for saying yes. I know that you are a birth and bereavement doula in training. Yes. You're also a mother. What else are you?
A wife.
Yes.
A social worker, but I've been a stay-at-home mom for the last few years.
How is it being a stay-at-home mom? You know, usually when you say stay-at-home mom, there's such a perception that people have had for such a long time about stay-at-home moms. And I think not putting into account the amount of work it takes to be a full-time, or rather stay-at-home mom. How has it been for you?
It's been tough.
Yeah.
I mean, because there are no working hours. Your working hours are when you open your eyes in the morning and when you close your eyes in the evening. Those are your work hours.
Yes.
But it's been a joy just being able to raise my kids. One of the things I really wanted from the very beginning is just to be present for the first few years of my kids' lives. At least until they go to school and they're out in the world.
Yes.
So I've enjoyed it. I have no regrets at all.
Yeah. That is so beautiful. There's another mom that I follow on Instagram who's a stay-at-home mom. She knows who she is, so if she's watching, I'm coming for you. I want you to come and sit with me and let's have a conversation. But back to you, Sharon. I want to take you to the beginning, or rather from the place where you got married. Tell us a little bit about how you met your husband and how you decided that, okay, this is the person that I'm going to spend the rest of my life with.
Wow. Okay. I met my husband about 17 years ago.
17, you said?
Yes.
Okay,
I know it's way back. But I met him at a Form 4 Leavers program. And then we started dating like probably just before we started campus and throughout campus. And then about maybe 8.5 years in, we got married, and we've been married for 8 years now.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. So you've known him for a good chunk of your life.
For my whole adult life, because I met him when I was 18.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, wow. That is very special. So did you guys decide off the bat, we're going to try to have kids immediately? Are we going to wait a little bit? What was the plan when you got married?
Initially, we had the conversation that probably we wanted to wait a year or two. What we didn't know when we were having that conversation, that I was already pregnant. And we found out probably a week later, and we're like, okay. Yeah. God had other plans, and it's fine. Yeah.
So was this, would you say it was a honeymoon baby-ish, sort of?
Well, it was like 6 months into
That's a
marriage,
honeymoon baby.
Okay, I guess
6 months are still...
Okay, so what is honeymoon? A year?
About a year, I think.
Okay, then it is a honeymoon.
Because you're still newlyweds, right?
Yes,
Yeah. Okay, so how was that pregnancy number 1 for you?
It was all right. After we got through the shock of, okay, we wanted to wait, but I mean, God had other plans and we were happy. Everything was going fine.
Yeah.
I already had a doctor who had started seeing before I got married. So I didn't need to look for a doctor.
Yeah.
Started our clinics every month, monthly. Everything was okay until what point? I think second trimester. During my second trimester, I was out of town for the day we were supposed to do the anomaly scan.
Okay.
I think it's usually 20 weeks. We were out of town, so we're like, let's push it to the following weekend, and then we can see the doctor then. I was about 22 weeks then. So when we go in, the doctor decides to do the scan. And while he's doing the scan, I noticed his face change. And my doctor is a very bubbly person, so you do know when things, So he turns and then he looks at me and he says, okay, I'm sorry, but it seems like the baby is not alive. And I'm like, what do you mean? And in my head, I think I was just trying to figure out, like, did I feel this baby move, like, just recently?
Yeah.
But it was a fast pregnancy, and movements were not very common at that time. So I figured, okay, maybe I just missed it. And being a fast pregnancy, I think sometimes we also don't keep track of such things.
You don't know exactly what to look out for. Yeah.
So anyway, so he says, there's no heartbeat. I'm so sorry. So he tries to show us how it's supposed to look like in terms of in an ultrasound that usually you can see like red. There's usually that red and blue color when you can see the blood passing between the mother and the baby. It was dark, and he was just showing us that. And he was like, it's okay if you want to get another opinion.
Okay.
I wouldn't mind. But in my head, I was like, I mean, I trust you. I trust that you wouldn't lie to me over something like that.
Yes.
So I was like, okay, fine. So at that point, my husband and I were both crying because, I mean, we couldn't even believe, like, this has just happened. And in my mind, I don't know, maybe because I was just naive and it was a fast pregnancy, I never imagined that would happen. And I think more because we're always told, until like, I think 14 weeks, you're like you're safe, you're out in the clear. And I think also I let my guard down a bit.
Okay.
And so after we compose ourselves, he tells us the next steps in terms of, okay, what we need to do is check into a hospital. And he said we can do it the following day. There was no hurry. So we leave, and I immediately called my sister because I didn't know who else to call at that time. Turns out her and her husband were actually very close to the hospital to where we were. So they come, and of course I shared the news with them. Another crying fest.
Yes.
So they ask, okay, so what do you want us to do? So I was like, I need to tell mom.
Okay.
I don't know. But I felt like there was a hierarchy of people I need to tell.
Yeah.
But I knew I needed to tell my mom. So we drive to her place. So when we got out of the car, I remember my sister saying, okay, let the guys stay out here because if we all walk in, she'll know something's up.
Yeah.
So we walk in and, of course, say hi. And funny enough, also, my mom's sister, my auntie, was also there.
Okay.
So we go in and, of course, I say hi. And I'm trying not to talk too much because I don't want to cry.
Yes.
And I didn't want to just enter her house and just start crying. And she'll be like, okay. Yeah. So we go in. So she's like, okay, we say hi, we sit down. So I tell my sister, you can tell her.
Okay.
Then my mom is like, okay, she noticed because even her mood changed. So my sister tells her, it's another crying fest.
Yeah.
So my mom, of course, asks me many questions of how did you know? What are you going to do now? What did the doctor say? And all that. So I had to share everything with her. So she strongly felt that I should check into hospital immediately.
Okay.
Even though the doctor told me I can wait until the next day. And at that point, I didn't feel like arguing. And I think also I was still in shock. So I didn't even want to reason for myself. So I decided to just go to hospital immediately. I didn't even go home. And I checked in to begin labor and delivery.
Wow. So were they inducing you to have the baby?
Yes, I was being induced. And probably like the hardest thing, because I hadn't prepared myself mentally for labor and delivery.
Yeah.
And also it was labor and delivery knowing that you're not going home with a baby.
Wow. What is that like in your mind? How do you, because we know how to expect a baby, a living baby.
Yeah.
How do you prepare yourself to expect a baby who is not alive? What do you do? What do you tell yourself?
I think at that point I was still in shock, honestly. And sometimes I feel like those few days I was in hospital are a bit of a blur.
Yeah.
Because it's beginning to process how in the morning I knew I was going to check on the baby, check if the baby is alive, check if the baby, organs are fine, and check the sex of the baby to we are delivering this baby soon.
Yes.
Oh, it's hard. But I think a part of me was trying not to think about not going home with the baby because I needed to get through the labor.
Right.
And the pains of it all, and the fact that I hadn't mentally prepared myself yet. I think I just needed to be in that moment.
Yeah. Did you have a boy or a girl?
It was a boy.
It was a boy. Okay. So that was your first baby?
Yes.
All right. Tell me how the healing from that looked like, your physical healing, your emotional healing, and how much time did you take before you were ready to try again?
Physical was I wouldn't say hard because it was an uncomplicated birth.
Yeah.
Everything was fine. I think the hardest part was my milk coming in, and I didn't know it would.
Yes.
So it was dealing with that.
Yeah.
What I think was probably the hardest thing physically. Emotionally, I was a wreck. It was like, here I was preparing for a child, and now I am not. It was just trying to get my mind around the fact that this baby is not coming home. And that like I'm no longer pregnant, even though I still feel like I am.
Yes.
But I was able to find a support group, and I was able to do therapy at that time through Still a Mom, which really helped a lot because it made me feel less alone. Made me feel like, okay, there are other people who are dealing with this struggle as well.
Yes.
It helped me process everything. And yeah. In terms of being ready to try again, our doctor had told us to give it 3 cycles.
Okay.
Then we can try again. My cycle came back immediately. I had no problem with that. I feel like I was ready. I think even though we had that conversation of we're waiting 1 or 2 years, now we were like, we're ready in this parenting thing. Let's just do it.
Yes, let's keep going.
So we were both ready to try. And about 5 months later, 5 months after the loss, we did get pregnant.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay. How did you find out?
It was Christmas Eve, actually. I'm one of those people who feels pregnancy symptoms very, very early on. So I tested without telling my husband.
Okay.
And then when I finally told him, he thought I was joking with him. And I told him I wouldn't joke about something like this. Trust me. So, and it was just a random morning, Christmas Eve. And of course, we didn't share with anyone, but it was at Christmas. We were so excited. Because it was like, oh my God, another chance.
Yes. And what a perfect gift for Christmas.
So
when we were chatting earlier, we laughed a little about this. So I want to bring it in. You are those people who cannot hide pregnancies. Yes. Your body gets pregnant and announces before you announce. And then there's people who can go very far along. Actually, there are people who even give birth and nobody knew they were pregnant. There are people like that. Tell me how that was for you, the changes in your body. Did you feel the need to now tell people, or how did you navigate that?
Okay. So since pregnancy shows in my face really early on, I know that some people I couldn't hide it from.
Yeah.
And I didn't even want to hide it from them based on what we had been through.
Yes.
So my sisters and my mom were definitely the first people who knew.
Yes.
Very early on. And more because they were among the people who really stood by us.
Yeah.
With the loss of our baby. So I was so sure I wanted them to be among the first to know.
Yeah.
And they've always been there for me, and they're my support system. So they were among the first to know. And then, of course, my best friend.
Yes.
A few others came a bit later.
Yes. How was the pregnancy?
The pregnancy was okay. I had no major issues. I'd say it was a regular pregnancy.
Okay.
Yes.
So you went through it, trimester 1, trimester 2, trimester 3, no scares, no nothing.
Nothing.
Okay, that's good.
Yes.
Went full term?
To 37 weeks, and then my water broke.
Yes. Okay. Had a girl or a boy?
It was a boy. It's a boy.
It's a boy.
He's 6 years old now.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's at home?
Yes.
All right. Did you decide to stop there, or did you decide to try again?
We decided to try again a few years later.
I love it.
Because I was so sure I wanted him to have a sibling.
Yes.
A living sibling, let me say that.
Yes.
Because I have siblings and I enjoyed life with them. And I still do enjoy life with them. So I knew I wanted a sibling for him. So when he was about 3 years old, that was now in 2020, the COVID year.
Oh, yes.
Before COVID hit, we decided to get pregnant again. So I went to my doctor. I got off birth control.
Okay.
And then 2 weeks, maybe 2 weeks after lockdown in Kenya happened, found out we're pregnant.
Sharon, you're you're those people who sneeze and get pregnant. You're like God's favorite. Nyinyi ni wale tukikunywa maji yenu mnatuambukiza. Okay, so you find out that you're pregnant again 2 weeks after. That's fantastic. You're excited. Here is baby number 3. Tell us about this pregnancy.
So it was, I would say, regular. I mean, for me, first trimester is always like very sick, not feeling like doing anything, a lot of fatigue. So it just felt like the other pregnancies. I went through it, no issues. Of course, I was seeing my doctor, different because now it's under COVID. So most of the visits I used to go alone.
Yeah.
I had no problems until my second trimester, almost third trimester, around 27 weeks. I remember there was a day I hadn't felt the baby move. And in my head, I was like, have I not felt the baby? Or is it that I just wasn't paying attention?
Yeah.
And so I did all those things you're always told, drink something sweet, lie on your left side, and, all those, the checklist you're given. So I did all that before I called my doctor.
Okay.
I didn't feel anything yet. I just had a bad feeling. So I called my doctor. I'm like, I've done the usual things and I'm not feeling the baby move. And I can't remember the last time I felt the baby move.
Okay.
So he tells me, okay, come into the office. Let's check. Let's see what's going on. So I go in. I went alone. I went in alone more because it was still COVID time where we were only allowing one person. And also my husband was home with our son. We didn't have a nanny. So I told my husband, it's okay, I'll go. So I go in. A part of me already knew. But I feel like now looking back, I feel like I was just trying to prepare myself mentally. But there's nothing that can prepare you for those words. So my doctor checks and he says, that sentence, there's no heartbeat. And of course, I break down because as much as I was preparing myself mentally, hearing that phrase again, second time, it broke me. This time, I think it was a lot worse, maybe because I was much further along in the pregnancy, or maybe also because I didn't think it would happen again. Because I figured I've already had one living child. In my head, I was like, what are the odds of this happening again? Anyway. It did happen. And of course, he tells me, the usual, okay, we need to check into hospital, start, labor and delivery. And I was like, I can't believe I'm going through this again. I think that was what was just ringing in my head. I can't believe I'm doing this again. And also another thought that came to my mind was like, what if I'd never have another living child? I was like, is this it? A part of me was very afraid of that. So since my husband didn't come with me, when I was at the reception after dealing with the doctor and I needed to get the letters for the hospital, I called my best friend. And I tried to really mask that I was crying. So I just asked her, I was like, oh, hey, I was just finding out how you are. Oh, I was out and about. Where are you? Can I see you? So funny enough, she was like 5 minutes away from me. And sometimes I feel like that was God placing people at the right place. Because that is the second time that has happened, you know? So she comes and of course I tell her. And we're in the car by the roadside, just bawling our eyes, you know, crying. And I told her, I honestly can't believe this has happened again. I remember just repeating that. Like, I can't believe this is happening again, you know. It's so hard thinking about that moment again. And it's one of those situations where you think, you start questioning God. You're like, how can you make this happen? You know how much I needed this. You know how much we wanted this for our family. Anyway, so how that day ends up is her husband wasn't so far away from us. So he comes and, of course, we tell him the story as well. And so she takes me home. Or they take me home together. So I tell them, okay, I don't want us to walk into the house together because my husband will know something is up if we all go in. So I tell them, wait in the parking. Let me tell him, because I also wanted to give him a chance to process things on his own, because I had that chance. You know, I had the chance to be able to process the information, you know, without an audience. And so I walk into the house, of course, trying so hard to look like nothing's okay. And of course, I share the news, and I remember apologizing to him as if I've done something wrong. I don't know, because a part of me felt like I had failed him. You know, that it was my duty was to carry this child, you know, to term. Anyway, so that afternoon was just dealing with having to share with our family, and now, of course, preparing for the hospital, which I did check in the next morning. For labor and delivery again.
Wow. Same hospital, same process, same everything.
This time it was a lot harder because with my second child, I had a C-section, which was an emergency C-section. So this time my doctor was like, we can try do an induction, but we're not so sure if it will work. We'll try it gently. Gently turned into like 24 hours, nothing much was changing. So it's like, oh, we can try this and this and that. But I think at that point I was very tired. Emotionally and physically. And I was like, it's okay, let's just do the C-section. And I know he was trying so hard to not have me help me not to have to go through surgery. Because of course the healing and it takes time. But a part of me just gave up. I was like, I can't do this anymore. And so we did a surgery and
Did you get a chance to decide with both babies? Did you get to decide whether the hospital should take care of the baby for you, or whether you want to bury the child, or what does that look like when you give birth to a baby who's 22 weeks, 27 weeks? What does that look like?
That one is automatically in Kenya, at least as far as I know, the hospital takes care of it. Just based on the laws of Kenya. I think you can't take the baby unless it was 28 weeks and above. Which is I think the age of viability in Kenya currently. So unless it was 28 and above, you can't.
They take care of the baby for you.
Which is also another point of grief that you. Because, I mean, the last point at which you see and they're able to engage with the babies at the time they're born. And luckily for me, both times I was able to see my babies. I had great nurses at the time who were very patient, especially with the C-section. I remember before going in, I told my doctor, please make sure I see my baby. Because for us lost moms, that is all we have. That is the last point of contact we have with our child. And I didn't want to lose that. And I told my doctor, please make sure I see my baby. And so I remember after they took the baby out, I remember hearing him tell the nurse, please show her baby. And the nurse comes to me. I remember her name was Lillian.
Okay.
She comes to me. She actually asked first. I was like, that is so... For me, it was so strange because I felt like she was being very patient and being very empathetic at the time. And I said, yes, I'd love to. So she brings the baby wrapped up and she puts him right on my cheek. And of course, the waterworks. And it was honestly... As much as I was already grieving, it was probably one of the most beautiful moments because that is really the only moment outside my womb that I had with him.
Oh, Sharon, that's heavy. So here's baby number 3, your boy.
Yes.
But you're also going back home to heal with another baby who is living, who was how old at the time?
He was 3.
3. How did you manage to be fully present for this baby who is there, who is 3 years old, who still needs you, because 3 is still a baby, and also process your own grief and the loss you've just gone through?
This time it was a lot harder.
Like
I said before, I didn't think it would happen again. But also harder because I had a toddler. Honestly, this time was it was a lot harder because I think it hit me more emotionally than the other time. I didn't have time to myself to sort of grieve on my own as I did the last time rather. It helped that probably it was during COVID, so my husband was home because he was working from home. So he took a lot of caring for the child. He did a lot of caring for him more than I did. Because I was also recovering from surgery. And then on top of that, it was just dealing with, I think, many things. I was dealing with the loss of the child and then also dealing with what if I'm not able to have another child, biological child on my own. And I think a lot of things were also going through my mind. So I'd say it took time. I did do another group as well. I did do another therapy group this time because I felt like the last time it really helped. And this time equally, it equally helped as well because I was able to process things that I was dealing with. But I'd say it was a lot harder. I wrestled with God a lot. I remember one of the days, probably maybe a week or 2 after the loss, I was putting away clothes. So I had kept some of the baby clothes from my second child. And so I'd removed them maybe 3 weeks before my loss. I'd removed them trying to figure out, okay, what do I need to do? What do I need to launder and, keep now for this baby coming? And I had just put them in a corner somewhere. So now 3 weeks after the loss, when I was now going to pack them up again, I cried so hard that day. I cried so hard because I think it was just another reminder of this baby is not coming. And I remember that day, I really struggled. I think I cried all afternoon. And it was one of those afternoons I remember my husband wasn't even sure, okay, how do I help her? And I was like, just let me cry. I just need to let it out. And that was the first day in that whole journey, I actually felt like I didn't want to live anymore. I was like, I even started asking myself, what am I living for now? And I had to remind myself that I have an amazing husband and I have an amazing son, who just didn't know what was going on except mommy is crying so much, And it was very hard to see him look at me every day and wonder, okay, why doesn't she look happy, So that day when I felt like I didn't want to live anymore was the day I decided I needed to do therapy. Because I was like, this is not how my story ends.
You're mentioning that you got to a place where you felt, I cannot do this, I cannot live my life like this. you're bringing out therapy. And, because therapy has been stigmatized so much, people, when you say you're in therapy, people are like, Aikoni, what's wrong? Like you couldn't just talk to somebody. It's almost seen as though you're a very weak person to be going into therapy, or you're such a mess to be going to therapy. And I think that it's okay to say that you need help. And going through, as a mother, going through a loss, losing a child that you had hopes and dreams for, and then, like in your case, for it happening again, that is such a heavy thing to process that I have to applaud you for saying that I need help. I'm going to seek out help. Even when you reached out to those support groups, just wanting to get help from other people is such a big thing. And I think that you're speaking to a lot of people who are listening to you. I know that you mentioned Still a Mom, and I have to highlight the work that Wanjiru Kehusa did. I know Wanjiru Kehusa, she's a friend of mine. And I remember when Wanjiru began Still a Mom, having gone through losses herself, and she would speak about this. This is, some years back, she would speak about it. There are very few voices speaking about loss, miscarriages, stillbirth, and that kind of thing. And Wanjiru would speak about it, and I remember people should get very nasty responses on social media. Like, you can't keep talking about your dead babies, is some of the comments that would come. And I remember seeing that and seeing what she was going through, and then starting to go through my own losses. And I'm like, I cannot talk about this, because if this is the reaction or the response that we get from people, that they cannot honor a life just because it was aborted at a certain point, then I don't want to share my story. But then now I realize that the more we hold our stories to ourselves, the more we all remain captives of something that is really beyond us. So thank you for speaking out about this. I think the other thing that I pick from your story, from the very beginning of your pregnancies, I feel like, and this says a lot about the person that you are, you're always looking to protect everybody, even in the time when you are the one who needs protecting. Yeah. I hear you saying, I wanted to, we were going to see my mom. We wanted to tell her in this way. We asked these people to stay outside first so that I can tell her like this. I heard you saying, we went to see my husband. I asked them to remain behind so that I can break this to him. I heard you say, what was the other one that you said that I needed to highlight? I think it's you were at the hospital alone during COVID. You called your best friend and you wanted to sound okay on the phone, and I hear that need to protect everybody else. And sometimes I'm like, who is protecting you? But it's such a big thing, and it says a lot about the person that you are. That need to protect other people is such a special gift that you have. And I'm really sorry for the losses that you've had to go through that remain to be a part of our lives, right? So you're at this place where you've had this loss, your third baby, and then after a while you decided to try again. Did you?
No.
Okay, tell us.
So that was in 2020.
Yes.
I decided to take time, and then around 2021 I opened an Instagram page called The Missing Piece.
Yes.
For me, it was just a way to honor my boys.
Yes.
But it was also a way of also sharing my story. But I always say the space I'm creating is both for the bereaved and the supporters. Because I always feel like the people in the lives of bereaved parents never know what to do, what to say. And so I wanted it to also be a space for them to come and learn, okay, so my sister lost a child, how do I help her? My friend, my colleague, whatever it is, how do I help her get through this? Yeah. And so that was the space I wanted to create. Yeah. And so I share a lot on there. Okay. And then with time, my husband and I, of course, had the conversation of, okay, are we going to do this again? But after we lost the baby in 2020, my doctor had told me, okay, when you guys are ready to try, come and let's have a discussion first. Okay. So when we did go see him, he said that there were some tests he wanted to run first before we think about getting pregnant, just to see if maybe there's something that is causing the losses to happen, and especially very late into the because it's second trimester, and most second trimester losses are usually for a good reason. Not saying that the others are not for good reason,
but it's almost a reason that can be explained or found. Yes,
exactly. So we're like, okay, fine. Just to backtrack a bit, when during the C-section, my doctor had noticed some blood clots in my placenta.
Okay,
we had some tests done on the baby, and the baby was fine. There was nothing wrong with the baby, the placenta, nothing. But that was still something I think that concerned him.
Okay.
And that's why he asked us to now come back and do the test.
Right.
He suspected that I may be having an autoimmune disease, probably something like lupus.
Okay.
So we did the tests. Nothing showed up.
Yes.
So he says he wasn't satisfied with that. So he was like, I'll refer you to a doctor. He was a rheumatologist, I believe.
Yes.
And he'll run his own tests. Let him see if probably there's something that was causing the clots.
Okay.
Because for him, that he just said that was abnormal. So I go see probably at the following month, I go see the rheumatologist. He also runs his own set of tests different from what I'd already done.
Yeah.
So he didn't think that it was lupus based on the consultation that I had had with him.
Yeah.
But we still went ahead with the tests, and they were very extensive tests, so they took some time for the results to come out. So when they finally did, something showed up.
Okay.
And it showed that I did have, I don't want to be technical, but I do have a blood clotting disorder that shows up when I'm pregnant.
Okay.
I mean, it's something that I'll live with for the rest of my life, but
Yes.
somehow the only time it affects me is when I'm pregnant. So what would happen is that blood clots would form on the placenta, causing, so now the baby is not able to get like oxygen and nutrients.
Yes.
And so now there's a diagnosis.
Yes. That's how does that make you feel?
Honestly, it made me feel better, because it made me realize, okay, so there is a reason.
Okay.
And for me, it was a bit of closure.
Yes.
Because it's not just one of those things that happened. And it was a bit of closure, and it was a bit of, okay, so if we do choose to have another child, at least we know what we need to do.
Okay.
And it also took a bit of the guilt away.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because I think I beat myself up for a while, for a very long while, as to why can't my body do this? And I'm realizing, you know what, that was out of my control.
Absolutely.
And there was no way I'd have known.
Yeah. So you get this diagnosis. So do you and your husband decide, okay, we know what the issue is, but we're going to try again? Or what was now the conversation like? Are we done? Or are we going to try again? What was it like?
Even before the test, we knew that we were going to try one more time.
Okay.
The thing we didn't know is that probably like a week after getting the test results and being explained to what was going on, I did find out I was pregnant.
Behold, fertile myrtle. I love it.
Yeah, at that time, I'd say that was in 2022.
Yes.
I feel like my husband was ready.
Yes.
Emotionally,
Yeah.
I wasn't. And
Okay.
it took some time.
Yeah.
I was like, I kept pushing it, and I was like, no, maybe not this year, maybe next year.
Okay.
But I was like, okay, God had other plans.
Yes. So here is this surprise, sort of a surprise pregnancy, I would say. So you have to get with the program whether you're ready or not. How was this pregnancy for you?
Ooh, it was tough.
Yeah.
It was very different because now I was a high-risk pregnancy. It also meant me being on a lot of medication due to the blood clotting disorder from the very beginning. I had to inject blood thinners myself every single day.
Wow.
Alongside other medication that, like steroids and, it was a lot. It was probably the hardest pregnancy I've had. Maybe it was also because I was carrying a lot emotionally, but also because of just how much I needed to do and keep tab on, because it also meant being at the doctor's more often than usual. So I needed to see my doctor probably every maybe 2 or 3 weeks, just to be sure that everything is going well.
Yes.
and also ensuring that I'm on top of my meds and everything.
Yes.
So yes, it was a lot tougher.
Yeah. And when you mentioned steroids in my head, I'm like, okay, what does that mean? Did it mean, because I know steroids also come with other side effects. They work on your emotions, they work on your weight, they work on... What did it do to you?
Oh, weight.
Yes.
Yes, I had a lot of water weight. I mean, there were no shoes that could fit me.
Wow.
I generally felt very heavy.
Yes.
By the time I was going to deliver a baby, I was like 110 kgs, and most of it was just water weight.
Yes.
Oh, it was a lot.
Yeah. But you were able to carry the pregnancy to term?
Yes, I did. I carried until 36 weeks.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
And had a baby boy or girl?
Yes, a baby boy.
You're a mama boys.
Yes.
You're the real mama boys.
Yeah. Yes, I did deliver a boy.
Yes.
Who is now 13 months old.
Oh, you're still a new mommy. I take this as a sacrifice that you're here. You've given us your time to just share your story, because I know 13 months is still a very, still a very fresh baby. Yeah. What has the journey of motherhood taught you, Sharon?
That is not always straightforward.
Yeah.
I think when I was a lot younger, like in my 20s, I used to think, oh my God, I want like 6 kids.
Yes.
Not even thinking about how much work goes into it. Now I'm like, how?
We'll take care of them, yeah.
Yeah, but now I'm just like, it's just making me realize it's not always straightforward.
Yes.
It has taught me to be patient with myself.
Yes.
To also just be easy with myself. For a very long time, I think I used to beat myself up for things that I had no control over.
Yes.
And I'm realizing even with other aspects of motherhood, there are very many things I won't have control over.
Absolutely.
And especially as my kids grow older, and it's just teaching me to just take it a day at a time.
Yeah.
And just, control what I can and just leave the rest to God.
Yes. I think that is so freeing, even for me as a mom, hearing that. And it's something that we need to speak more to other mothers, because there's so much that we take on ourselves and, overburden ourselves with things that we cannot fully control.
Yeah.
That you can do the best that you can in every moment. And then there's other things that you just cannot, but just the confidence of knowing I've done my best today. I've done right by my children today.
Yes.
Is so important. So you, one of the reasons that I asked to sit with you here is because when you signed off on your email, I saw that birth and bereavement doula, and I was like, I have never seen this. And I just really wanted to know what's that about, why you decided to go in that direction. Yeah. Obviously, we can now tell based on your story, but maybe tell us a little more about that. But tell us about this birth and bereavement doula. Where did it come from? Why did you think of doing it?
As I said earlier, with my Instagram page, I kept feeling like I needed to do more. I wanted to be in a space where I'm actually helping people, either one-on-one or at a time when it's a lot closer to when things are happening.
Yes. And
counseling was not really the line I wanted to. I had thought about it, but I realized it's not what I really wanted to do. So I came across this page that was talking about being a bereavement doula, and I decided to do research on it, and I was like, okay, maybe this is what I need to do.
Yes.
So basically I am training to be a traditional birth doula, but also a bereavement doula. And it is to be able to support families at the time when they're going through their loss or just after.
Yes.
And it's about also supporting women who are going through birth at any trimester with any outcome.
Okay.
Yes.
When you say at any trimester with any outcome, let's expound on that a little bit. I guess what you're saying is that there are mothers who go through their pregnancies knowing that the outcome is not necessarily a live birth.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's when I say birth outcome, it just means like for people who, for example, I did, who found out that the baby was not alive in the womb, but you still have to go through labor and delivery.
Yes.
Or for people who probably get a fetal diagnosis of the baby while the baby is in the mother. And you have to make that decision of, okay, do we terminate this pregnancy or do we carry it to term and knowing that this baby is not going to survive or the chances of survival are very slim. So and when I said any trimester, it's just trying to say that even people who are going through a miscarriage, whether at home or in a hospital, wherever they may be, deserve to also have support, because a lot of people tend to go through that alone. And a lot of times in hospital, you'll probably be given the drugs and you're told, okay, just go home and your body will know what to do. But even if your body knows what to do, what about your heart and your mind? You know? So it's about being with people at that specific time and just them knowing that they're able to have somebody who can walk with them as they're going through that.
This is so important. I think it's such, it's really, really necessary what you're doing and needed. If I just think back to, I've processed a lot of what happened following the loss of my son, Malachi, and I remember one of the things was just immediately after losing him, and I know, you know, she meant well, and it's what happens at the hospitals, they send you a counselor. So I remember, you know, my son has just passed on, I've gone back to my room, and then the counselor comes in and she comes, you know, with her notebook and would you like to tell me what happened? And I'm thinking, no. And I actually said, no, I don't want to tell you what happened. And I wasn't saying it from a place of being rude or whatever, but I just thought the most traumatic thing has just happened to me right now. I don't need you with a notepad and a pen asking me to relive that experience at this moment. And later when I thought, because I've been trying to think, what would I have preferred in that moment, was at the point at which this baby was already in danger, because many times they can tell something is not right. I think it's a time to start introducing these people, you know, whether it's that kind of support, the doula or the bereavement doula or the counselor, to start introducing them to the mother and bringing them up to speed on what's happening, so that you're not trying to make someone relive their trauma in that moment, and that also you're not a stranger, because I was also like, you're a stranger, you've just shown up. No, it's not you I want to talk to. Bring my mom, bring my, you know.
Somebody else.
Bring somebody else, you know. My doctor walked in and I just broke down because she was a familiar person for me. So what you're doing, I think, is just so important. And I pray for every blessing for you and the grace to do it. And anybody who needs, you can connect with you. Where can we find you? I know you said that you have an Instagram page, The Missing Piece KE. The Missing Piece KE, okay? You can find her there. Is there any other way to find you?
Probably. I'm very good at replying DMs. I try to this day.
Okay, good. I love
but
it.
also by email as well, themissingpieceke@gmail.com. And those two avenues, I'm pretty sure I'm going to reach out. I can reach back.
I love it. Yeah. Go ahead. She said she'll respond to you.
Yes.
So if you're in need of help, Sharon is here. Sharon, I'm so grateful that you've gotten to just sit with me and share your story with us, and just I draw so much strength from every guest who sits here, because you hear things differently. You hear things and you're like, oh, okay, I'm not alone. I felt that too. And that's what's so important about, this space over here, is to make a family out there know that they are not alone, that you've pulled through so they can pull through as well. So as we close, there could be somebody who's watched this story and maybe they've gone through their second loss, their fourth loss, their fifth loss or whatever, and they're just at that place, that place where you said, I was like, I don't understand why I'm alive anymore. It could be the place where somebody is right now. I'll ask you to look into the camera and speak to that person. What would you say to them?
I'd say, I know it feels dark right now, and I know how that darkness feels like, but it won't always be like that. Take it a day at a time. Even if you need to take it an hour at a time, do so. Open yourself up to people, even if it's just one person. Go to therapy, have a support group. Those tend to help a lot. But just know that it won't always be like this. It may sting so badly right now, but healing will come. Healing will come, and you will feel joy again. As much as you don't feel like you'll feel joy ever again in your life, I promise you, you will.
Yeah. Healing will come. Healing will come.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will. Mama boys, are we expecting any more babies? Is there a plan?
No.
You've closed that chapter. You're just like, no. I gave you all
I think I've done enough.
You've contributed enough to motherhood.
Yes, I have.
4 babies, 2 with us, 2 who are, we'll meet them someday.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for being brave with your story. And I just look forward to seeing what you grow into as a birth and bereavement doula. You'll always be top of mind when I need to refer somebody. I will have you on speed dial, so please expect my call.
Thank you so much for allowing me to share my story, and thank you so much for this platform. It is so needed.
Yeah. Love to your family, to the boys who are waiting for you to get back home. Thank you. All right, guys, that has been Sharon, and she is a birth and bereavement doula, as you have heard. If you need to reach out to her, her IG is The Missing Piece KE. Slide into her DM. She will respond to you. If you need help for someone you love, go ahead and check with her, and she will be very happy to walk this journey with you. This has been Being Kambua. I look forward to catching you again next time. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, comment, email me if you have a story to share. That's beingkambua@gmail.com. I would absolutely love to hear from you. But until next time, take care and God bless you. Bye-bye.
Mpaka I remember asking God, so why are you giving me this soap when you know it is not going to survive? Why? Why?
Yeah.
Why are you giving me this?
Yeah.
Can't you just let me be?
Yeah.
I was okay where I was.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
It really hurt me. So bad.
Yeah.
Then, for me to share this story, I promised God, now, if you restore,
yeah,
I will share with the world this story.
Yeah.